It's the PHNX Cardinals post-game show. I'm Johnny Venerable with the newest member of our crew. It's Brittan Golden, the 8-year NFL receiver, ex-Arizona Cardinal wide receiver. Here we are, our first post-game show of the regular season, soon to be the regular season. And Brittan, we're fired up to have you. I wish we could have ingratiated you in a better game than that, but here we are nonetheless.
Oh no, it's good to be here either way. But yes, no, it was a doozy.
It was tough. Chiefs are on a different level than the Cardinals. Can we start with that? Yes, Captain Obvious, Johnny Venerable. We get that. The Chiefs, they're world champion for a reason. I think we were talking off air, Brittan, like the Cardinals' first team defense looked pretty competent.
It did.
Got a couple stops. The offense, we're going to get to that. But where we really saw this team struggle was the depth on the second, third, and fourth level for this defense is just not there.
Agreed. No, like you said, the first team did a great job. They got a few good stops. First couple drives, they went 3 and out and they looked really well. I think there was a slight drop off once we got to the twos.
Yeah.
And then down the line, the further it got, I felt it was a very porous defense.
Yeah, Andy Reid, I mean, guys, gals, listen, that's a finely tuned machine over there. And the Chiefs played competitive football tonight. Like, give them credit. They weren't treating this as a throwaway game. We're not treating this as a throwaway. Free matter for the blind, $10 super chat. Words cannot describe how pissed I am that Isaiah Simmons didn't chop Uchela in half at that end of the TD run. Trade him. I would make him take his jersey off before sending him to the locker room. So it's a big point of emphasis on this postgame show is there is frustration with Isaiah Simmons, Brittan, because he's a polarizing player. He switched positions. I think a lot of Cardinal fans, not me, but others, give him the benefit of the doubt. Vance Joseph's not here anymore. He's at his natural position of free safety. Tonight was not a good night for Isaiah Simmons.
Was not his best night, no. That thing in the goal line, yes, you would love to see that. You'd love to see him go in there and take a shot. But, again, the game is changing.
Yeah.
And
can't do that.
For me, it's not so much for the better. I mean, I feel like it's something we knew what we signed up for when we started getting into this game. You knew it was an aggressive and a violent sport. But, you want to see that. But at the same time, he doesn't want his pockets to get hit at the same time.
No. So he had the penalty for pass interference. He got beat a couple times. Then there was a couple instances toward the end of his last possession where it looked like he was jogging after the receiver. Now, we don't have the all 22 footage. We don't know if a defensive back or a cornerback wasn't there to help him. So, we'll give him the benefit on that. But it just, man, for a guy who was selected top 10 in the draft to look like that in a preseason game where you're in there with backups now, and then there's Isaiah Simmons. It's tough, man. It's a humbling game.
I feel there was a couple instances where he kind of looked lost in coverage.
Yeah.
Where maybe he didn't know if it was man or zone.
Yep.
But again, like for a top 10 pick, for a guy that you're relying heavily on, that's not something that can happen.
Ian in the chat, Simmons looked lost out there. Absolutely. Jose Simmons plays the game how it's supposed to be played. Well, I like the aggressiveness on the hit. Like, that doesn't bother me. If Isaiah Simmons wants to do that every, couple of outings, that's okay. It's, man, he's always a step behind the receiver. And then, that touchdown run where he did basically pull up and make maybe a business decision in a preseason game. I don't know. Like, he didn't get his fifth-year option picked up for a reason. They want to give him opportunities to make plays. And tonight, it was a horror show for him on the back end. Dylan Richards in the chat. I think the cornerbacks outside of Marco had a tough night. Absolutely. I mean,
Agreed.
Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes is going to do that to you. I think the defense in general, like, you see how important Budda Baker is to this defense. Like, he leaves the field and the wheels fall off, Brittan.
I mean, Budda Baker is a very important piece of this defense. And like you said, with him not on the field, it looked a little bit, they were looking for a leader and they didn't really have one.
Yep.
So I think, the main thing for that is keeping Budda healthy all year. If that's what it's going to look like, you've got to make sure that he is healthy, ready to go, and can take charge every week.
Yeah, it just, that tonight looked too much, and I tweeted this out at times, what we saw last year. I'm not putting that on the coaching staff. I think that's right now a product of who was available tonight, who played a lot in the second, third, and fourth quarter. They didn't have B.J. Ojulari, Majay Sanders, Cameron Thomas. I mean, those are three guys that are going to get after the quarterback for this team. Once you got behind with Dennis Gardeck out of the game and Zaven Collins, the pass rush was brutal. Dylan in the chat, Pass rush was non-existent, puts pressure on these cornerbacks. Absolutely. Well, the pass rush was better last week, and so the secondary looked good. For me, it comes down to they got to win the war of attrition. Is that the saying? Like, they can't have like 4 or 5 guys go down on this defense, or too many Sundays are going to look like that.
Agreed. And you've got to make sure, like, that's the instance though that we're looking that we haven't had in the past couple of years with depth.
Yep.
Once we've lost our starters, it's turned into role players.
Yep.
And nothing against that, but you need solid backups to where when somebody does go down, you're not, crashing and just trying to find some instance for somebody to make a play.
Yeah, I agree. Kazir White, Johnny Griff did look good. He had the pass breakup early in the game, and again, I think he came out shortly after Budda Baker. Like the starting defense, for the most part, did their job. They got the immediate 3 and out, and we thought, okay, this is a repeat maybe of last week against Denver, and then the wheels kind of came off, and so I think the defense is going to be a work in progress. It's going to be Gannon and Nick Rollis' MO, obviously to get it right. But I have much more confidence in that unit, even though they struggled tonight, than I do in the offense when Kyler Murray's not out there. And that really kind of brings us to the main story of the evening, in my opinion, was Colt McCoy did not look great tonight. And it's more than just the box numbers and the box scores. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But, I mean, he can't drive the ball downfield right now. He missed Rondale Moore deep. He had a pass that was behind Trey McBride. And did Clayton Tune light the world on fire? No, he missed some throws too. But Clayton Tune's also a 5th-round rookie. Colt McCoy presumably is your starter right now. It's discouraging for Cardinal fans as you await Kyler Murray to return.
It is. I mean, you want to see, especially in preseason games, you want to see your quarterback try to get that ball downfield. And yes, I get it. Play calling is a big factor in that, but you want to see the ball move downfield, and we just did not see that at all with Colt McCoy tonight. And it doesn't give you a lot of hope going into week 1.
No.
But I mean, like you said, with Tune, you saw the ability to push the ball downfield.
Yeah.
You saw what he can do. He can move with his legs. He can create things. I mean, he broke a couple for sure sacks. I thought he was done, and he got out of it, made a play out of it. So I mean, it just gets to that point where what's your best option at this point?
No, and the one thing I've been consistent, Brittan, on this show is like, it's unfair that we have to even put Clayton Tune in this position. Like, he in the grand scheme of things, he should not be a starter for a team week 1. But when I'm comparing it to what the Cardinals have, is if he's my alternative, why not? Like that's always kind of been my MO. It's like, he's got a better arm, he's more mobile. Is he going to know everything pre-snap? Of course not. But I would let her almost kind of figure that out on the fly, because Animal TV, I mean, Colt's arm is a wet noodle at this point. Plus, very limited mobility. He can't push the ball downfield. I just feel like, and I think we've got the tail of the tape ready to go here as it relates to these two quarterbacks. And again, avert your eyes if you can. This has not been pretty. This preseason in 2 games for the number 1 and at times the number 2 quarterback. But I think if you take a 10,000-foot view, Brittan, and you see, okay, outside of completion percentage, and I know Tune's had more drives and has started more drives, it's a no contest kind of situation. You've got yards per completion, and then the scoring drives stick out as well.
For sure. And, Tune is getting scoring drives. Now, yes, he's going against 2s and 3s, but, I mean, he still has to be able to make that happen against them for you to even have any type of confidence in putting him in that situation. And like we went back to, like, Colt McCoy is 9 of 12. He's 75% completion percentage, but he's averaging 4 yards a pass.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're throwing flat routes and we're dropping it off to the running back. And that's not going to get it done at the end of the day.
No. And Free Matter for the Blind and Mark Anderson hit it in the chat. Tune was robbed of 2 touchdown passes tonight. Greg Dortch, friend of the program, part of the program for the brand, was robbed of a touchdown. Andre Bacella had a touchdown that was an egregious penalty, called it back, and you would have added
very questionable call.
Right. You would have added 2 touchdowns to his total passing touchdowns plus an additional scoring drive. And again, like Clayton Tune, to me, I think he's going to see the field at some point this year. I'll go out on a limb. Like, unless Kyler Murray's ready to go in week 2 or 3, which we hope, I don't think Colt McCoy based on what you've seen so far, like I thought with Bo, and we'll talk to Bo here in a little bit from State Farm Stadium, Brittan. He was of the mindset, and I disagreed. He's at practice every day. He thought Colt McCoy is going to play the entire first half, and I'm like, okay, well that would make a little sense. This is the window dressing before the regular season. Like we want to see what we have, try to mimic what you're going to do week one. And he played. Did he even finish the first quarter?
I know he finished the first quarter. I think it
Okay.
was a little bit like midway. I think it was 8 minutes left in the second when Tune made his appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was.
I thought it would be a full blown dress rehearsal, and it was like he wasn't out there for most of the second quarter. How can you, based on what we've seen, like how can you play 4 quarters of a game on September 10th?
And that's the question. That's the question that the coaches, that the front office, they've got to sit down and they've got to figure out. Do I want to go out there with a game management plan, or do I want to go out with somebody that can, with Tune, can ultimately make things happen in the air and on the ground?
Yeah. You mentioned on the ground, he had 6 carries, 35 yards, almost 6 yards per carry, and spun out of a lot of sacks. And again, like his stat line is not anything to write home about. Like there are other, I'm sure, backups and backups of backups having better preseason statistically.
Yeah.
But again, like for what the Cardinals are right now, like Colt McCoy needs to complete the passes that are there to be completed. And that was always his calling card with this team with under Cliff Kingsbury. It's like, okay, he's not gonna have the strongest arm. He can't be mobile outside the pocket, but if a guy's open, he can hit him. Well, that we're not getting that right now, especially tonight. You saw the missed throw to Rondell Moore down the sideline on the left side. You saw the missed throw to Trey McBride. It's like, if I'm not getting my accuracy from Colt McCoy, and I can't even push the ball past 5 yards behind the line or past the line of scrimmage, like what is he doing for me?
You also had the one earlier with Hollywood where they tried the little back shoulder, but it was 5 yards behind him back shoulder, and you can't get that. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like we said, they're gonna have to figure out what their best option is going forward.
Yeah. Cardinals update. Let's not forget that Tune is playing with backup O-line and receivers. Absolutely. I want to see him with the starting unit. I tweeted that out, Cardinals update. Michael Wilson, Hollywood Brown. We see what he can do with Dortch, Rondell Moore, James Conner. I'm sure he would be elevated by those players. I'm sure that you put him out there, they will help his case. I think Clayton makes mistakes. We were talking about this off air. But did you feel like his receivers were helping him tonight, especially in the second half?
I didn't feel like he got a lot of help from receivers in the second half, not at all. And like they said, it would be really nice to have seen him go out with, the first string receivers, just to see, even try to develop some type of chemistry if it goes that way, week 1, week 2, week 3, however we do it. And but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, the decision that the coaches make, coaches feel comfortable with, and at this time, I guess we'll just have to see.
We'll have to see. Here's what I want to see. Everybody in the chat, give us your choice. Would you rather see Clayton Tune or Colt McCoy start week 1? You have to pick one of them, unfortunately, at this point. Agent 47, we need to run the ball a lot. That's it. And again, we're going to talk about the player of the game here in a little bit. But I do feel like the run game has been there the first 2 games when there's been holes to hit. James Conner looked good. That's a positive. Brittan, you talk about only on, I think, 2 carries, 2 for 15, 7.5 yards per carry. As a team, the Cardinals rushed for over 100 yards on the ground, but a lot of that was Clayton Tune outside the pocket. But for me, it's just this offense, it does very much feel like it's so limited without Kyler Murray. And that's obvious, but like the training wheels are on for this team right now until number 1 comes back.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much more stuff that opens up when you have Kyler Murray in the backfield, because he's so mobile. He can get out of so much danger or any type of problem you want. But agreed, though, running the football is going to be big, especially after what we saw tonight. James Conner did look good in the 2 carries he had. I mean, anytime you're averaging over 5 yards a carry is a good thing, but he ran hard. He looked like he was comfortable back there. But for them to be able to push the ball, period, until Kyler comes back, that run game has to be very efficient.
Yeah, it has to be like borderline dominant, right? And maybe that's the plan. Maybe week 1 against the Commanders, they're going to run James Conner and Keaontay Ingram 40 times. And then that's their mindset. And they're going to play defense and special teams. But I think it's pretty obvious here in the chat. We put out a poll already, 30 votes. We appreciate you. It's overwhelming favorite for Clayton Tune, and that's not to be expected. Anybody who is rooting for Colt McCoy at this point and pushing Colt McCoy, you have every right to do that, and it's likely based on what he's done in the past, specifically for this franchise. My pushback to that, Brittan, would just be like, he's another year older. He's going to be 37 before the start of the season, and unlike 2 years ago when he went on the road with that loaded team with the Cardinals and beat the Seahawks and beat the 49ers, the franchise was in a much different place. You had, this team 9-0. You had DeAndre Hopkins. Just the offense was, I think, more suited for him. Now it's just like everybody expects the Cardinals to struggle. And how is Colt McCoy with a limited skill set now supposed to help that?
Agreed. And like you said, losing DeAndre Hopkins and guys of that caliber that are out there, now, and you're trying to groom young receivers right now.
Yeah.
And somebody who had a DeAndre Hopkins, had an AJ Green. I mean, a lot of people tend to forget AJ Green was a crazy security blanket for Colt McCoy when he was playing. And, if he didn't have anywhere to go, it was an AJ Green sighting. So I think when you lose two big-time receivers like that, it definitely doesn't help in the process. So
Zach Ertz was a big security blanket for him. He did not play tonight. Again, Trey McBride, the tight end, second rounder out of Colorado State last year, I think had one catch tonight. Was hoping to see more from guys like Michael Wilson and Trey McBride, but they're very much at the benefit or not of the quarterback. They're dependent on the quarterback. I know a lot of people were coming at me in my mention saying, well, where's Michael Wilson? I mean, did you watch where Colt McCoy was delivering the football tonight? Everything's underneath, right? Yeah. Check downs to Rondale Moore, check downs to the running backs. And again, this offense, which I think can be potent at times, has opportunities to be physical and bigger, right? Michael Wilson's bigger. They can't take advantage with a quarterback that right now is very limited. I hope they can figure it out, Brittan, before the start of the regular season. But at least with somebody like Clayton Tune, he's going to at least take shots downfield.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's got the arm strength to do it too. So if it's shots that you want to see, really it's upstairs though. That's the final say so. If they want to see the ball move down the field, then I say you go with Tune or even Blau. To be honest, Blau has had success in the NFL, and we know he can throw the ball downfield.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's a great point. A lot of people were saying that after last week when David Blau beat the Denver Broncos in the fourth quarter, and it's like, well, that's not just it. He almost beat Atlanta on the road last year. He's started NFL games before. Javier in the chat, rather see 20 of 40 from Tune than 40 of 40 for 20 yards from McCoy. It's a great point because those 20 completions are at least going to be shots downfield or at least going to have a chance for a big play. This offense with Colt McCoy right now, it's a pop gun offense. It's an offense that you're too reliant on your skill players. I tweeted it out. I was watching the game here at the studio with Brittan and the crew, and it's just like they're bringing the safeties all the way up. They don't respect the big play with somebody like Colt McCoy. They were like, the safeties were like 8 yards away from the line of scrimmage.
They loaded the box with 8 a couple times.
Yeah.
They were just loading the box and just daring them to throw it.
Yeah.
And we were still hitting. I mean, there was one Rudy threw to Rondale Moore. It was a check down. He ran a 1 yard flat route on third down.
And they were ready for it. Cardinals update. Johnny, your guy Trey McBride was finally out there and blocking, getting physical. Yeah, I think, again, even with the limited targets his way, it was a good night for Trey. Trey played H-back. Trey was the starting tight end. I do think something's interesting that we haven't touched on that I'm going to be sure to rub in Bo's face is Bo is very adamant that Zach Pascal came over from Philly, he's been in the NFL for a while, would be the starter opposite Hollywood Brown. And they listed him as the starter with Hollywood Brown. Yet when the game started tonight, he was not the starter. It was Michael Wilson, the rookie third rounder out of Stanford, with Hollywood Brown. I think that they're telling you, based on his play in practice, which has been dominant, that they're going to go with the rookie for better or worse, and I think that's the right decision.
Honestly, yes. I mean, I saw a couple of tweets that were talking about, trying to hide Wilson, and it's not necessarily that they're trying to hide him. A lot of it has to do with the play calling and the throws. I mean, we weren't really moving it downfield anyway, so there wasn't a lot you could really do unless you tried to get him involved with a screen pass. But I think for the most part, it's a young league. Everybody wants that new young, and as Michael Wilson, I think we'll see a lot more out of him when the regular season starts.
Yeah, I think the offensive line too look good, as Dylan mentions in the chat. Paris Johnson, Frold Holt looks solid. Protection, they didn't give up a sack. If they did, it was late in the fourth quarter. Dana in the chat, McCoy has no arm. Might as well put Johnny out there. I mean, my arm is way worse than Colt McCoy, but I'm going to tell you right now, at least I know my limitations. I wouldn't tell the Cardinals they should start me. Jose in the chat told you they would use jumbo sets. Pascal help block for Keaontay Ingram on that 13-yard run. Yeah, I mean, I like the complementary skill players offensively. Like, defensively, I think they have a talent issue at certain levels of their defense that can't be disputed. Maybe not in the secondary, but in the front seven. Offensively, like player for player, skill players and then their tackles, I think it's a nice unit. The problem is, though, is when your quarterback is so limited and you're waiting for your franchise player to return, it doesn't matter how many stud receivers and backs you have.
It doesn't matter who you put out there.
Right.
I mean, you could bring D-Hop, you could have Devontae Adams, you could put whoever you want out there, but if you can't get the ball to your playmakers, at that, there's no point in having them out there.
The final poll results are in. 82% want Clayton Tune over Colt McCoy. Thank you to all that have voted. And again, it's a popular situation right now, and I don't think anybody here is ready to anoint Clayton Tune as anything other than a backup. But, man, just looking ahead to week one, if it is Colt McCoy, it doesn't give you a ton of confidence that he's able to move the chains effectively. And I don't know how you play. What's he played, like three or four series this preseason? We don't expect him to play against Minnesota next weekend. At least I don't. That's a long time, and that's very little live reps, live bullets before you play week one. It's certainly a gamble. Speaking of gambling, so we had our pre-show earlier with myself, Brittan, the GM, Saul Bookman. I put out 3 bets I liked. Unfortunately, went 0 for 3. That's how it happens sometimes. All of which were very Cardinal heavy, Cardinal favored. But
they did not help you out at all.
They did not. They did not. The over-under was, I think, 40.5 for this game. And, I mean, goodness, Casey hit that basically on their own just about. And the Cardinals, to me, they would have needed to play a perfect game. And Clayton Tune and Colt McCoy couldn't get the ball in the end zone enough. Free matter for the blind super chat, $2. Thank you so much. BG is fantastic addition to the show. We are fired up to have Brittan as well. We're also fired up to be partners with our friends at BetMGM. BetMGM, using that bonus code PHNX, there's tons of offers, tons of free bets. It's like Christmas morning every time I go on the BetMGM app. Bonus bets, prop boosters, and again, this is just an appetizer, folks. Ahead of the regular season, you can check out all the week one props, Cardinals, Commanders, robust 17-week schedule, all detailed, ready to go on BetMGM. Future bets, over-unders as it relates to this team. I think this team's at 4.5. If you want to dabble, I know they're a big-time underdog against the Commanders week one. But again, if you're going to gamble, if you're going to wager, do it responsibly and do it with our friends at BetMGM. And for our folks here in Arizona, place your first bet offer, receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now, I was hanging with him last night. Listen to our guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 Nevada. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario.
So, perfect combination for a game like tonight. We're watching the game. We're on BetMGM, and I'm dabbling with a little Four Peaks brew. Have you had Four Peaks before? You're new to the squad. Obviously, Four Peaks not new to the Valley, but it is the official brew here at PHNX.
I've had a few of them.
Yes?
I've had a few of them.
You've been known to have some?
I'm not a huge beer guy.
No, that'll change. Be working here. That'll change.
Well, that'll probably change hanging out with you guys.
That's
for sure.
That's true. And listen, Four Peaks, fantastic. If you check them out in Tempe, you know the food's fantastic. We go there as often as we can. I'm new to the East Valley, so one of my favorite things to do is take my family over to Four Peaks in Tempe. Great food, great atmosphere. We had our draft party there. And I'm a big pumpkin guy. Do you fuck with pumpkin here in the fall, or what do you do?
Pumpkin?
Yeah, pumpkin.
Like, are we like consuming pumpkin? Well, or are we talking like
pumpkin spice lattes, pumpkin beer? What's
man,
I can already tell by your reaction. You don't mess with that. I don't, but I think that might be the next step for me.
I mean, pumpkin spice lattes, and it comes with his tights and Ugg boots.
So Four Peaks has a beer. It's called the Pumpkin Porter. It's the best, and a lot of people try to do the pumpkin beer and they botch it. It's the best pumpkin beer I've ever had. And we have it on tap here at PHNX Studios when the time comes. It's not available yet.
Well, it's seasonal, man.
Yeah, well, but it's August basically is time to crank out the pumpkin porter. I associate football now with Four Peaks and Four Peaks Pumpkin Porter. It's fantastic. Check them out, Four Peaks on Instagram at Four Peaks Brew. They're going to keep you up to date with the latest in the hometown brewery. You got to be 21 years and older to drink Four Peaks and drink them responsibly. Speaking of a responsible boy, we've got Bo Brack, I think, live from State Farm Stadium. He just had a chance to connect with Jonathan Gannon on the unfortunate, 38-10 loss. We're going to try to get Bo Brack here, but Bo.
I know Bo.
What do you think about Bo Brack? Give me your rundown. Give me your scouting analysis of Bo Brack for me before we all do a show together.
I like Bo.
Yeah.
Bo's got a good Bo knows what he's talking about most of the time.
What's great about Bo is that he's not afraid to admit when he's wrong. And so he made 3 predictions. He said that Michael Wilson wasn't going to start. He was confident in Colt McCoy, and he was confident in Isaiah Simmons. And all 3 of those things, I think, went up in flames tonight. And with that, let's bring on Colt McCoy, his president of his fan club, Bo Brack. There he is, live from the press box at State Farm Stadium. How we doing, my friend? That was a rough one. Oh, he leaves. He's left us.
He's already mad. You already ruined it.
I'm just kidding. I won't do you like that. Even though you just did me dirty in front of all 180 people here. First off, I didn't say that Michael Wilson wasn't going to start. I said I just was factual as far as where he was on the depth chart. And he came out today and he was in there for Zach Pascal, and he was opposite Hollywood Brown. That's refreshing to see. I'm excited to see more from 14.
All right, so we've got the newest member of our crew here, Brittan Golden. You know Brittan. And Brittan and I are chatting it up off air, and I'm just like, what do you see him from Colt McCoy? Like, what's going on here? And he likes Colt McCoy, but at the same time, we gotta be straight. We gotta be real here about the limitations, Bo Brack, that we're seeing from number 12. He does not look like the same number 12 that we got each of the last 2 seasons.
No, I mean, he doesn't. You have to keep in mind that they're not running a full offensive script here either. I mean, I think they're coming out and they're scratching the surface as far as what Drew Petzing wants to do. Not trying to make excuses. I think that 3rd and 2 play was brutal. I think you got to put it right where, Trey McBride can make a play and extend and move the chains there, because your defense is gassed after a 10-play drive by the Chiefs offense, and you put the defense right back out there. It seems like that should be right where you want Colt McCoy to be and where he should be able to separate himself from the rookie quarterback and being on point with his passes. That hurt. But he also didn't, I think, kill his chances as far as being the incumbent, the quarterback one of this team. As much as I wanted to see more from Colt McCoy in this first-team offense, I just don't think it was, there's no smoking gun that you can point to say, hey, Colt McCoy is not the guy and you got to move off of him and go with the rookie. Clayton Tune, I liked what I saw, but he didn't win the job over tonight either.
No, I agree with that. I know you can't win a job like this in a preseason game, especially with the limited time that you're playing. Also, who you're going up against. And I agree with you on the fact of there's not a lot in the play call sheet right now. You don't want to make it complicated for these guys right now and put them out there with a full script of the offense. Because there's guys out there that are young, especially with Michael Wilson. It's not any knock against what they're learning, but I'm not trying to put in a full playbook and have them go out there and try to compete at a high level and have them not think. Because you give the whole playbook out there, they're going to be out there. They're going to be in their own heads. They're going to be thinking about stuff. I think simplifying the playbook for the preseason is it. So that also comes with a lot of the short passes.
Yeah. I mean, what we saw was, Clayton Tune getting in there, showing his athleticism, everything we knew about Clayton Tune. And I think you wanted to see him be a little bit more crisp with his passing. I mean, he was about 50%, right? And maybe there were some bunnies that were left out there. But, you take the good with the bad. And I think the same thing goes for McCoy. And Blau continues to kind of be an afterthought. So it seems to be just it's McCoy until somebody tells us otherwise. Unless Clayton Tune just kind of puts the team on his back in the finale and does something that we've never seen before and is just on point beyond anything we've witnessed so far. I mean, I think that he's still a guy that this team wants to build around, wants to be, the backup to Kyler Murray for the, from now until, the next couple years. So I think it would be probably out of what we've heard from this organization for them to move off of Colt at this point, despite not seeing much from him. He still hasn't, like, he didn't make any bad reads or anything like that. We're just not seeing him rip it. That's what we want to see, right, Johnny? If you saw him back there, BG, if you saw him back there and he's trying to rip it downfield and he's trying to make plays and he's throwing it to throwing picks, I think then that's a problem.
And I don't even know if he's able to do that anymore. I don't think he can rip it now.
I mean, I've seen him in practice. I mean, he's got.
Listen, if I have a nickel for every time you've told me that, I need to see it in a game in this offense. And what's frustrating to me, Bo, especially, is we talked earlier this week. I talked to BG about this before you jumped on. It's like, Colt McCoy is gonna have played what, 3 or 4 series, 3 or 4 possessions before week 1 against the Commanders. Like, I don't know how we're supposed to feel confident in Colt McCoy. I thought he was going to play the first half. I thought they were going to say, okay, Colt, you got to go out there because these are your time to get your licks, right? Time to get your rhythm with your offense because you know he's not going to play against Minnesota. Like, that's got to be concerning, right? Even you, Colt McCoy, the president of his fan club, thought that he was going to play the entire first half.
I honestly, I was on record saying I don't know how much he's going to play. Watch the tape, my friend. Watch the tape. Instead of just putting Colt McCoy or Clayton Tune highlights on, or lack thereof, on your computer screen. I mean, look, he's going to probably see the bulk of the remainder of this preseason in the joint practices next week. And look, I know that's not going to make you sleep at night, and it's concerning, right? But you and this fan base, myself included, we're putting a lot of trust in this organization and a lot of the decisions that they've made. So I don't know why you're so stuck on this quarterback competition. Like, you're like, it's like I trust them, like, implicitly with all of these things, but not this one. He's wrong in going about the quarterback position.
Well,
look,
hang on, real quick. I do think you are correct. I don't think Clayton Tune has earned it or has run away with it, but I do think Colt McCoy left it open to do that, and unfortunately, Clayton Tune just didn't do it, right? I think he would have had to have the kind of preseason that we were hoping he would have, or multiple touchdowns every game, 65 to 70% completion. I think it was there for him to take, and that's always been my mindset. I think Colt was vulnerable from that standpoint, but Colt benefited, in my opinion, from the fact that Clayton looked like a 5th-round rookie at times, and so I do think now they're just going to defer if they haven't already. We're going to go with Colt. It's the best option short term. But man, anybody who watches Colt and thinks he can make it a quarter of the season, 6 games, we're going to see Clayton Tune at some point unless Kyler Murray's ready to come back.
Yeah, and I think Clayton Tune has given you at least the assurances that, like, if his number's called at some point or even early in the season, like, he can go out there and he can make enough big throws. And I think that's what he showed you that on full display tonight. And he showed the athleticism, and I think JG spoke on that as well, about how he liked how he was extending plays, 35 yards rushing on the ground, a far second to Anthony Richardson, the combine, as far as athleticism. So, look, I mean, you're getting some decent looks at Clayton Tune, and you're also realizing, like, hey, he's just not ready for prime time just yet.
Agreed. I mean, and like you said, I think throwing Tune out there really early and throwing him to the Wolves could be really detrimental, because we've seen that happen too many times around the league with guys getting thrown into the spotlight when they're not ready to go out there. So ultimately, week 1, I think you have to go with McCoy just with the experience and stuff like that. And like you said, there hasn't been anything from Tune that's been like, we have to put him over Colt McCoy at this point. There was nothing that like wowed you. He made a lot of great plays. He extended a lot of plays. He made some great throws. He put throws on the money at times too, but I just don't think there was anything out there that says this is better than what we've got already.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the Bachelia 21-yard strike, during the 2-minute drill, fantastic. And then you kind of see that drive aided by a couple weird flags here and there, and they kind of make their way towards the red zone. He gets the ball in the Dortch's hands. Looks like they have 6. And then they kind of run a couple plays, and you see some throws towards, like, in the paint, and that's fine. He just can't connect. And then they've got the call to hand off to Keaontay Ingram, and it's all said and done. They find the end zone. It was a good drive, right? And I think that's a resume builder, right? That's all you want at this point from Clayton Tune. And I'm just all here for building this kid up, getting him ready for the marathon and not just throwing them to flames right away. Because like what Brittan's saying, I mean, you especially with how this roster is constructed currently in a rebuilding year, it's tough. Like you could develop bad habits, and I don't want to do that to the poor kid.
Well, I want to kind of pick your brain, and I think we've got a couple clips to queue up here. Jonathan Gannon spoke on both quarterbacks, Bo. What was his takeaway?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to hear what he said about Colt McCoy. He spoke, this is what he had to say about McCoy in the first team offense.
Did good. I think they converted a couple of downs, but I thought the operation was good, and we had some plays in there that he hit. He was good.
So not giving you too much, right? And just like the first team offense, I mean, it was pretty vanilla what they were doing. I mean, they were putting themselves in second, third, and manageable. There wasn't any plays where they needed somebody to just step up and make a big play to move the chains. Just unfortunately, you just didn't get enough from them on the field. But I loved what I saw from James Conner. I loved what I saw from Keaontay Ingram. But the quarterback play, like we've been talking about, JG seemed to echo that. It was just kind of like operationally, they were getting the play in, they were running the right, they were making the right reads. They just weren't as productive as anybody wanted to see.
And that's true. The production is, we also have to realize this is the preseason. Yeah. Right. It's not going to be as productive. You would love to see a whole bunch of just bombs over Baghdad all day long. But, we have to realize we're in the preseason. We're trying to get stuff together. And like we said earlier, the playbook is bland right now. Yeah. Which goes on what he just said, how he was talking about the quarterbacks. It was very short and sweet. He knows he's not putting a lot of stuff in there because he's trying to keep everything as simplified as possible, and just to make sure we get through healthy and we get through successfully as we can.
Yeah, I like this comment here from Ryan. Remember when K1 didn't play much in 2021 and came out flat? Aren't we worried that is happening with Colt? He meant 2022, and I think it's just you're trying to save as much as you can for Colt McCoy with his body and how limited he is, to say, okay, if we got a period of 12 to 16 quarters we got to get through, we're not going to put him out there for an entire half plus during a preseason game. Would you assess that the same way, Bo?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that's. I don't know if that's what I'm trying to tell myself, and I'm telling myself in the mirror to make myself feel better about it. But no, I mean, we see it so. I mean, the days of like seeing Kurt Warner go in and get a first series drive and drive down the field, find a touchdown, or Brittan, like during your time with like Carson Palmer going like 7 for 8 with a touchdown and like calling it a day as far as preseason. Like, they don't have that luxury. They don't have like that quarterback available right now. Kyler Murray's not playing. This is the hand that they've been dealt, and it's not going to look pretty. But like, if with a new offensive play caller and Drew Petzing, them getting the operation down, the play call in, and guys in the right spots, and not being like offensively, they weren't penalized as much. JG spoke a little bit about all the penalties and said it was more kind of a technique issue. That when you have bad technique, that's when you're going to see the most laundry. He's not too concerned as far as it's not the Cliff offenses where it's all the pre-snap stuff. So it's a little bit. I guess that's maybe the silver lining here because we're looking for it in a 38-10 drubbing at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs, unfortunately.
Well, let's hear what JG said specifically about Clayton Tune, the 5th rounder out of Houston.
It's just that. I mean, he's a mobile guy. And I think some of that, too, is the timing of the play got a little bit off. So when he's expecting guys to be where they're at and they're not, that's what's going to happen. Maybe 1 or 2 bust protection or whatever, but things that we can get cleaned up. But I think he did do a good job of getting us out of trouble a couple times, extending some plays. Thought he operated well in the 2-minute, which was good to see. So he'll have some things like everybody, just like after a win or loss, that we got to look at and clean up. But thought he did a good job of that.
Yeah, he battled, right? And I think, again, he's projected to be QB2 when the season opens up. I think he's going to be on the roster, Bo, the length of the season. But, speaking of battle, we're going to talk about Isaiah Simmons here in a second, but I want to remind everybody, Circle K, we're so excited to partner with our friends at Circle K. Check out your local Circle K. Best coffee, beer, snack selection, premium gas at not a premium price, right? Those Polar Pops, they stay cold longer. Finally, today, it was sub-triple digits here in the Valley. Doesn't matter. Check out The buy one, get one free 32-ounce Polar Pop giveaway. You got to join the SMS subscriber club with our friends at Circle K. Text PHNX to 31310. Again, PHNX 31310. Join the SMS subscriber club. We were enjoying some Circle K goodies while we were watching the game, and perfect way to come off of what was kind of a buzz killer is to get your buzz with our friends at OG's. They've got the multi-flavored bags. They're gummies with a kick. We love the red apple, the watermelon, the peach, blackberries, orange creamsicles, one of my favorites. Their sleep time gummies are phenomenal. They'll knock you out like that with no repercussions at all. Give you the best night's sleep that you've had in some time. Being a PHNX listener just got a whole lot sweeter thanks to our buds at OG Brands. Right now, through the end of the month, you can get 25% off 100 milligram bags of the fruits and the creams, all at Arizona, the local flower shop locations. You just got to go to theflowershopsusa.com, place an order, use that PHNX discount code, then head to your nearest The Flower Shop location to pick them up. Again, that's through the end of the month. We love OGs. Promo code PHNX here with us. Bo Brock live from PHNX. Excuse me. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I just had a question. You know, obviously, Brittan, you played with a Daniel Jones when he was a rookie. Do you see some similarities in the game? And this is not being an indictment on Clayton Tune. I see some similarities in their game. Where do you think those two quarterbacks were? Are they in similar spots? You know, I know DJ was a guy that was a first rounder and Tune's a fifth rounder. Is he like light years from where Daniel Jones was in his rookie year at this time, or where do you think?
I wouldn't say light years. A lot of it is growing pains. I mean, as a rookie, you're getting put in this. I mean, Daniel Jones' situation was a little bit different because when he got in there, it was when you go in the game, you're really running with the ones for the most part. I mean, Eli Manning was the starter at the time, so he's not going to get a lot of reps in the preseason. So I think Daniel had a little bit more opportunity to play with the guys that he would eventually be playing with, the starters. So I think it helped develop timing because in practice he was going with ones a lot. He wasn't really running with the twos as much. But, you know, that comes into play when you're a top 10 pick, you know, in the draft. So I wouldn't say that Tune is crazy far behind him, but there's still going to be growing pains, and he's not getting really the crazy opportunities to go with the ones in practice and in these games. So I think the biggest difference was Daniel had opportunities to go with the guys that are going to be playing on Sundays.
Yeah, Ian Keller give Tune reps with the ones. You mentioned Daniel Jones was a top 10 pick, as was a certain safety, Isaiah Simmons. Not a good night for number 9. He had flashbacks to that horror show last year, week 1 against Kansas City, culminating tonight, playing well into the second quarter. Bo Brock played with the twos, maybe the threes at some point. Was Jonathan Gannon sending a message? Because, frankly, what it looked like, I don't know if it looked like this in person at State Farm Stadium. Isaiah Simmons was all over the Twitter streets, Bo, being called aloof, you know, not going full speed. You know, the 15-yard penalty, that didn't bother me as much, but just looking behind his receivers, and you give us what you believe was a correct synopsis of what you saw from the converted safety.
Well, let's hear from Jonathan Gannon first, and then I'll give my thoughts. This is what JG had to say about Simmons.
I got to watch the tape on that. I know he had the one penalty, which was bang bang. It was a good physical play. I think a couple times in coverage might have lost leverage, but we'll go back to the tape and get him cleaned up.
So, I mean, he just like yourself, he wasn't somebody that was upset about the penalty. It seemed like he kind of got it was a shoulder pad. It wasn't his helmet. But I think when he looks at the tape, he is going to see that where the quarterback scrambles into the end zone, and it seemed like he had the angle, and I don't know why there wasn't, you know, at least an effort at the end of that. I think that's the one thing you could say, hey, that's not acceptable. And then he got put in the slot, and there was that big play. I think it was about 38 yards, and it was just gave me PTSD watching the season opener last year. It just felt like it was the same thing, you know, put him out there, and he was one-on with a wide receiver in Brittan. I mean, I'm sure the wide receivers for the Chiefs were just licking their chops at the opportunity to go up against a guy like that who just doesn't seem to do very well in one-on-one situations at this level.
Well, I mean, anytime as a receiver, anytime I see a linebacker type or a safety type lining on me one-on-one, every receiver out there that saw that, they were just salivating because they're looking. I'm telling you, they're looking back at that quarterback like, come on, this is man coverage, and I know he's not hanging with me. He doesn't do this every day. So there was times in the defense, especially when he was in coverage, he just looked lost. And, you could call it, maybe he didn't know what coverage it was. Maybe it wasn't communicated well, but the effort on some of those just wasn't there. And going to the, trying to hit or just pulling up on the goal line, not even given an opportunity to hit that quarterback. I know a lot of people are upset about that. As a defensive coach, you want to see somebody that wants to go after it. The penalty that was called, that was nice. I'll take that 10 out of 10 times, even during the season, right? The receiver slipped too, and he was going down. So a lot of that happens, with the receiver changing levels. He was already launched and ready to make a hit into that. So I'm not mad at the hit, but the goal line, yes, maybe it was a business decision. Maybe he didn't want to see a little fine in his locker, but I mean, at least throw a shoulder. At least do something. Make it look like you wanted to hit him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Vanessa makes a good point in the chat. Simmons' development was messed up. Now he has to learn and stick with a different position. This is the position he went to Jonathan Gannon and company and said he wanted to play. And I'll preach patience like I do with somebody like Zaven Collins, who I thought was solid again tonight. But again, the lack of the full speed, that's going to get you killed by the fan base and the coaching staff 10 out of 10 times. I mean, the number one theme next to Isaiah Simmons tonight was not, he looks out of position or does he not know what he's doing? It was, he looks slow, and he looks slow. Maybe he's not going 100%. And again, business decisions in the preseason is one thing, but if I'm Isaiah Simmons and I'm in a contract year, I'm trying to get a contract from the Cardinals or somebody else because I don't have assurance into 2024. Like, I'm putting together the best tape I can, preseason be damned. So it just wasn't a good night for him, Bo. And I didn't think we'd be sitting here in the post game critiquing a starter like this outside of somebody like Colt McCoy. But I mean, he did not help himself tonight.
No, he didn't. It was a tough night for those who go to bat for Simmons on the Twitter streets or anywhere. I mean, it was. I think there are some things where it's just like when you look at the tape, I'm sure his coaches aren't going to be happy with it, and you're looking for like that instinct to kick in at some point, and it's such an instinctual position, and you're not seeing those at play, and that's a little concerning. But it's 2 games into this experiment, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's a lot of trust. I mean, when they opened up with the first team defense, it was that trio safeties, and they got the 3 and outs. I mean, they or forced punts, I should say, against Mahomes and crew, where it was Simmons, JT, and Buddha, and they were flying around, and Marco looked good. He had a nice pass breakup, and he came back on the sidelines after going into the locker room, and I think Keaontay Clark had some decent tape out there today as well. So, I think the Chiefs, their coaching staff probably said, "Hey, if you ever see this guy in this position, go after him." And unfortunately, he was exposed tonight, and he's still got a long way to go in a new position.
Yeah, totally agree. And again, like, they're going to give him, at least I would assume, till mid-season to try to figure it out for better or worse, and to see if he's going to be able to be a part of this team long term. The running back situation, Bo, we had talked about it in our pregame show. Keaontay Ingram was somebody that this team was hoping would step up. Well, he's our player of the game, scoring a touchdown at almost 50 total yards, and just, beyond the box score, Bo, he was one of the more impressive players on the field tonight, was he not?
He absolutely was. I mean, he comes out of the gate and he has a big first down run, his very first carry, and then he's physical on his next 2 carries, and then he makes a good play in the receiving game, and then with the call, I mean, on third and goal, he punches it in for the touchdown. I mean, you loved what you saw from Ingram. I mean, a lot of people, the biggest knock on him was we didn't get to see him throughout training camp dealing with just different injuries, whatever it may be. And just a different kind of, I guess, schedule, as JG's preached to us. Different guys are on different schedules, and he wasn't up last week, and then finally he's up this week, and I think he showed that it should kind of make people relax a little bit as far as who's going to be behind number 6 as far as carrying the football in 2023.
I think that's big, though. I mean, like we said, he ran the ball hard. He took full advantage of every carry he had. I mean, 7 for 28, that's 4 yards a carry. That's what you want anyway. Every offensive coordinator in the world, they preach, in those meetings is we need 4 yards every run. If you can get me 4 yards every run, I mean, we could run the ball 3 times in a row. It's a first down. So we'll take 4 yards. He made plays out of the backfield with the ball in his hands too, catching the ball. And I think ultimately to have somebody behind James Conner that can do both, that you don't have to worry about whether it's just running or receiving the ball in the backfield. He also made a very good pass protection pickup on the it was a free play. Guy jumped off sides. And, you know, if he misses that block, quarterback gets smoked. So I think it's to the part where he made a good decision. He got in there, he stuck his nose in there and took a little hit to make sure the quarterback could get out.
I mean, Johnny, would you say it's just kind of, all right, great job in the preseason, Keaontay, like, let's get ready for September 10th?
No, I'd play him against Minnesota. I'd play him in the finale, maybe a quarter, because I think you want to ramp him up a little bit because he's not going to get the majority of the touches, you know, against the Commanders week 1. I still think the best kind of balance with James Conner is 70-30, 60-40. But, I mean, he's young. And what do you say about young backs in the NFL? You run them hard early on, right? And so James is quickly approaching the big 3-0 in a couple of years. Keaontay is, you know, fresh a year out of USC collegiate football. So I think, you know, if you feel like he's going to hold up, I wouldn't have an issue playing him next week along with Corey Clement. But I want to get your take. We didn't see the first team offensive line that long, but I thought they looked pretty solid, Bo. I thought even with some of the passes that Colt McCoy airmailed and was inaccurate on, it was not because there was pressure. I thought the offensive line for the second consecutive week, especially the interior, looked really good.
Yeah, it did. I mean, as far as just quarterback hits, you just didn't see a whole lot, you know, especially early on. It's a group that I think is ready for the regular season. And if this offense is going to have a chance to prove a lot of doubters wrong, it's going to come up front. It's going to come in the trenches. And, you know, what we were looking for, kind of duplicate performances from preseason week 1 to week 2, the offensive line was able to duplicate that, where I think on the other side of the football, you were left looking for more from the pass rush from that front seven, where, you know, O-line took care of business.
I want to get to some of these super chats, but before I do, I want to remind everybody, Shady Rays, the official sunglass partner of PHNX. I rock mine today en route. They are the best sunglasses money can buy. Speaking of money, they're going to save you money with a pair of buy one, get one 50% off all polarized sunglasses. Try them out for yourself. They have been 5-star rated by over 250,000 people. Again, but you got to use the promo code PHNX. I love my Shady Rays. I've gotten them for every member of my family. Now I just gotta increase my catalog, right? I got the black on black, of course, but now they got turquoise. They've got some really robust colors. Check them out. They go in and out of stock fast because they're popular. But again, check them out, shadyrays.com. If you want name brand sunglasses without that name brand associated hiked up price, this is where you want to be. Again, PHNX, 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Promo code is on the screen. Try them for yourself. Again, 250,000 people giving them a 5-star rating. Speaking of 5-star merchandise, the PHNX merchandise locker. Become a diehard today. Pick up a free hat and or shirt every single year. You're a diehard. We got to get you a shirt and several shirts from the merchandise locker.
I got some golf shirts.
You got some golf t-shirts. So what we found out today, Bo Brock, that my man to my right, BG, was at Dobson Ranch for the golf outing just a couple of months ago, and so was connecting the dots today. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was had a good day with the driver too. That was a really good day.
Did you see Frank Sanders out there too, kind of lightening out on the links?
Oh, I mean, I had to drop the kids off early, so I got there right at tea time.
Just scrambling, no driving range, no
driving range at all. It was cold.
Oh man, yeah. That was the day. That was the D-Hop release too. I had to drop everything at the 11th hole and come in the studio and do a show.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
sure was.
We lose Diop, but we gain Brittan. We also gain Greg Dortch. Here's the Greg Dortch T-shirt, the newest T-shirt at the PHNX merchandise locker. Dortch was robbed of a touchdown tonight. The biggest crock of shit I've ever seen in a preseason game, where they overturned that ball, Brock, for our guy. Regardless, it's the best T-shirt we've had. It's available right now. You become a diehard. You get it for free. Speaking of this garbage, we've got the snapshot here. Dortch reaching the ball over the pylon. Robbed not only of his touchdown for the brand here at PHNX Cardinals, but then Clayton Tune. It's double whammy, Bo. Clayton Tune loses a touchdown What are they calling that BS for? I know Keaontay Ingram, vultured the touchdown, but man, our guy breaks tackles, bounces off a linebacker. Can we get 83 a touchdown, please?
It's just like Brittan Golden was saying in the pregame. I mean, Dortch just makes plays. He continues to get open, make plays. That's what he did today. At one point, it was like Tune was 0 for 5 this preseason targeting a guy, Dortch. I think he thinks he's 6'7" out there. But start to kind of find a rhythm with him and almost ended that drive with that touchdown, man. I wish they had given it to him. I'm not sure why they went back up to replay review on that and knocked it back. And then a brutal penalty that knocked them back, 5 yards before they ended up punching in. And you're just like, what is going on? But, great performance, great bounce back for Dortch, who is just a playmaker no matter who's back there throwing him the football.
Definitely robbed, though.
He was.
Definitely robbed.
We were very upset here.
Gosh, they even replayed it, and it was like his knee's down here, but when you look, his elbow is across. It's the nose of the football is all that has to break the plane.
I'm sure he's going to be...
and the fact that they reviewed it and somehow found undisputable evidence that he was not in, I didn't see it.
That's just too much grace for Andy Reid. Andy Reid's got those refs on his payroll tonight. That crackback block at the end of the game, it's just not a good night. Refs at State Farm Stadium just kind of been asked to this franchise.
They've been bad for a long time.
They have been. It was tough. Too many flags tonight.
I can say it now, though. They can't find me anymore.
That's right. You're safe here. This is a safe space. Super chats. Let's check them out. Producer Damon, we got on tap Fishbowl Flash, $5. Thank you so much. Should we keep or let go / trade Simmons? So I got a text message tonight. Could we get a 4th round pick for Isaiah Simmons? I don't think you get a 4th round pick for him right now. What position does he play? How could he help your team? Isaiah Simmons has got to prove a lot of people wrong this year. But Brack, I'll pose that to you. Like, what's the best bet? I think the best bet is you should just keep him right now and try to increase his value. Do you not?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a couple different checkpoints, right? And I think this is where you're going to find the lowest value. If you can get him, up to speed in any capacity by the deadline, then maybe that there. But I just don't see it as a reality. I don't know. I mean, I know it's frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. But it's game 2 of the new coaching staff. We'll see if they can coach him up. That's probably your best bet instead of trying to ring out a late round draft pick.
No, you're right though, because you're not gonna get what you want, especially you're not gonna get what you paid for him at the beginning. So at this point, I think it's just trying to groom him. And I mean, I know the years have already gone by for the grooming process, but you got to try to do whatever you can to get him back in favor, just to, like you said, try to get the best option you can. If you can find him back into favor by the trade deadline, maybe. But at this point, I think you've just got to get him back and just get him confident again.
I know you can't get into the mindset. Obviously, you just see it from afar. But you were in a locker room with a guy in Robert Kimdichie, right? Who I think Simmons has taken some comps to him a little bit for first round picks, high expectations. How do you what's that look like from just being there in the locker room and seeing a guy deal with that, and obviously the outside noise of having those expectations and not being able to meet them?
Well, I think what a lot of people figure out is, especially from the fan side of it, is, oh, we're paying this guy a shit ton of money. Why is he not producing? And they are human too in that locker room. I mean, regardless of what some people might think. So they hear this noise. Yes, you're supposed to be able to block this out. You're a professional athlete. This is what your job is. But it starts to weigh on you, and it, especially when you're a first round pick, there's so much expectations for you. It's different from a guy like me. I was an undrafted guy, right? Me coming into whatever team I went in on at the time, there was no expectation up here. There was like, oh, he's got to be an all-pro. No. So the pressure of that for me was, me coming in was just, let me just go play. Let me just do what I do and let me play. It's a lot different coming in when you're a first-round pick and basically you have the world on your shoulders, and it might not have gone according to plan the first couple of years. So now there's another added pressure that he's got. This man, I've got to produce. So, I mean, and like you said with Kimdichie, it was essentially the same, situation. You can start seeing it wear on a guy, though. I mean, being in that locker room, you can see it. How they came in as a bright-eyed rookie. First-round pick, you just got a shit ton of money, right? And you're feeling confident. You were the best guy where you came from in college, and you get to year 2, year 3, and the production wasn't there. So you can, I'm sure that there's a weight that he's holding that's not helping him out at this point, but they've just got to get him back to when he was coming out of college, when he was that first round pick. Get that mindset back. Stop worrying about the outside noise and just try to play your game. Be the athlete that you were when we signed you.
Yeah, it's well said. I mean, Simmons, Kimdichie, it's not a pairing I would have put together, Bo, but you hear the whispers. What was the issue with Robert Kimdichie? He just didn't love football. Like, there have been similar whispers about Isaiah Simmons. Like, does he just like football, right? Is he a me guy? Is he not a team guy? Like, tonight, it's one thing to be out of position and you're learning a new position. You're really going out there and doing your best. That was not his best tonight. You look aloof like that, people are going to come after you, especially when you were a high draft pick. Speaking of high draft picks, let's get to the super chat because I think it goes kind of on par. Jason saying $4.99. I think we need to pump the brakes. We have a new regime cleaning up Keim's bullshit mess, develop young guys, and build a foundation to win. And who we've been talking about tonight that's part of that bullshit to some extent. I mean, Isaiah Simmons was drafted over Tristan Wirfs and CeeDee Lamb. Colt McCoy was extended by Steve Keim. I mean, like, they're trying to see what they have with a lot of these guys, Bo Brock. But at the same time, it's like you can't remake the 53-man roster in a single offseason. You can't find 11 Pro Bowlers on each side of the ball in one 3-month span, March through April. Like, we have to preach patience, and I think Jason doing a nice job. You're losing to Kansas City, the world champion, by 28 points. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you'd like to see less, explosive plays. I think Gannon said they gave up 300 yards in explosive plays alone, and it was close to like 8 to 9 of those. And it's just like, that's just not even competing. That's not going to put any team in a position to be competitive. But, what you saw from your ones early on, offensive, defensively, it was okay. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point as far as trying to clean up the mess. And it wasn't just like, hey, this was a little out of place, and you just needed to, like, you get into a new apartment, and you need the lever on the toilet bowl needs to fix. No, I mean, there's like shit on the walls, and you're gonna pressure wash that bitch and like repaint everything. Like, this is like breaking everything down to the foundation and then building it back up, and there's still things left over. So it is. I mean, game 2, are we being maybe a little too hard on some of the big storylines that we've been following? Probably. But that kind of comes with the territory. And I think that they're going in the right direction, regardless of what the results were tonight. I wanted to ask you, Johnny, as we talk about, some names that we've been throwing around this offseason through training camp in preseason. I like what I've seen from Rondale Moore. I thought, he had one catch today. He had 2 catches, and he had a run that I think was taken down by penalty. I like the usage of Rondale Moore so far. I think he's been sneaky and quietly good.
It's a win this season if he stays healthy. I don't care what his stats look like. If he's able to play and stay healthy and, let's say, play 15 to 17 games, that's a good season for Rondale Moore, because I don't think anybody with realistic expectations after his first 2 years where he barely played could come into the season and say, this is a breakout year, 1,200 yards. I think you gotta crawl before you can walk, right? And for Rondale, and we talked to him about it this offseason, during Super Bowl week, I gotta play games. And I think when he plays games, most of the time good things happen, right? You see the explosiveness. I'm not ready to say he's a better slot receiver than Greg Dortch. I still think Greg is a superior player, especially down the field breaking tackles, but I think it's a good problem to have. You have both those guys available. The top 4 receivers on this roster are set. Will they keep a 5th or a 6th? I think that remains to be seen. But yeah, I think Rondale Moore, he looked good last offseason until we got to week 1, and he blew out his hamstring the Thursday or Friday before week 1 last year against Kansas City. So I think no news is good news with Rondale. And I also think, BG, you can comment on this, I think that Colt McCoy and Rondale Moore are good for each other, because I think a lot of those passes are going to go Rondale Moore's way.
Well, and that too, Rondale Moore, we talked about it, is a very explosive player when he is healthy, and you both harped on it too, is just having him be healthy for an entire season is huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really factors into that short game though. The screen passes, the quick passes, getting the ball in his hands quickly. because he can make things happen in open field. He's fast. He's strong. He's got a very strong lower body. He can break tackles. Comparison, if you want to talk about it, is, I mean, I know it's wild out there, but Golden Tate was one of the most dynamic guys getting the ball in his hands right on the line of scrimmage and running like a running back breaking tackles. And I think Rondale Moore can be that guy. It's just keeping him healthy has been the biggest issue.
Let's get to some of these super. Go ahead, Bo.
Can we talk about, as we're talking about this wide receiver kind of this room? We saw Michael Wilson, as you kind of poke fun that you put words in my mouth and said that I never thought he would start. He starts today, but it was interesting. We see Hollywood Brown make a catch, his first action in the preseason. He looks fine. I'm not concerned about Hollywood, but they take him off the field and they put Zach Pascal out there, and you've got Michael Wilson and Zach Pascal in a twin set. And I don't know how they're going to get away with this, because it's like anytime those two are on the field at the same time, isn't like that just telegraph a run?
You need to give me some credit, because I think I said this like 2 days ago. I said that Michael Wilson was going to start, and that if somebody was substituted, it was going to be Hollywood Brown for Zach Pascal. Did I not say that like 2 days ago? I feel like I just said that.
I usually don't listen.
He tunes me out. I don't think Michael Wilson leaves the field for anybody right now. I feel like we've gotten to that point. But yes, we teased it. Zach Pascal and Michael Wilson are going to block for James Conner, and Hollywood Brown's going to be taken off the field.
I love the diversity of this receiving core. I really do, BG. I don't know if you want to speak on this, but you've got Wilson, you got Pascal, two big physical guys. You got Rondell and Greg Dortch, who are kind of undersized slot guys, and then you've got Hollywood, who's just got that elite speed. I mean, I like just the different profiles that they have.
It's a very dynamic receiver room, and like you said, with the two big bruisers too, like, a lot of that's going to be package-based too, right? They're going to have different packages for different receivers. They're going to have situations where they will have Pascal and Wilson in the game. They'll have it where it's Wilson and Hollywood. They'll have it where it's Hollywood and Pascal. They're going to do it. They're going to switch things up if it's a smart thing, right? You don't want to telegraph things that you were talking about earlier to where you see these two in the game, you know it's a run. Or when this guy comes in, you know it's a pass for sure. Right, there's gonna be a whole bunch of different packages that have different guys in there. But like you said, it's a very dynamic receiver room. They've got a lot of guys that can make plays. You've got height, you've got speed, you've got strength. So as long as we can distribute the ball to the playmakers, we have a receiver that can get it done.
And that's the biggest question mark, because I think we all like the skill players. I think the offense has more talent right now than the defense does, but the offense can be derailed by poor quarterback play. Get to some of these super chats here. Thanks, you guys have been patient here. Free matter for the blind friend of the program, $5. Isaiah might not be a dog, but the PHNX team definitely are. Go Cardinals, absolutely. Still waiting on that. Isaiah Simmons, if he joined our squad, I feel like he could be a dog, but he is snubbed us a couple times. Super chat from Topic 64 at $1.99. I can't say nothing, JV Bo B. I would just say, Topic 64, friend of the program, there will be better days than today, for sure, for the Arizona Cardinals. Kansas City is a good litmus test for this franchise, Bo Brock, but, I mean, you've got the team that many are picking to be the first team to pick in the draft, to be the worst team in the NFL versus, albeit in a preseason game, Kansas City. I mean, should we have known this was going to look like this tonight?
Yeah, probably, right? I mean, I was encouraged for the first two defensive drives where they were able to get off the field and force punts from Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes, I think, he's still going to struggle without having a top flight receiver. Of course, he's going to have Kelsey out there, but, you saw some young guys step up, but at the same time, like, is it Gray out there is one of their top receivers that Marco Wilson batted the ball away from? So it was early on. I was like, man, what's going on? This is looking good. This is kind of what we saw the previous week without the pressure. Like, they still didn't get any quarterback hits, which is, far from where they were against Denver last week. So, back to the drawing board, and you got to create pressure somehow between now and Minnesota, and of course, obviously now in Washington, because you want to get a guy like Sam Howell uncomfortable for his second career start. But yeah, we were probably a bit naive, getting a little too lost in the sauce as far as the first preseason game went.
I mean, I wasn't, but we keep it real on this podcast. Forgettable game, unforgettable addition to our squad here. BG, we're so fired up to have you. Jason in the chat, $4.99 super chat. This shows over the years that Keim doesn't know how to draft. Players not playing, they're playing out of position. Doesn't work. Let's be real. Depth's an issue when you play a team like Kansas City. We saw that. Hopefully they can get that remedied in the upcoming drafts by Monty Austinford and company. Bo, any final thoughts here as we put a bow on preseason week number 2? Is there anything we didn't cover? Maybe somebody that stuck out to you for better or worse heading into the final week of the preseason?
I mean, I love Kazir White Love in the chat. I mean, I thought he had a big hit today, and he was flying around to the football. I loved what I saw from the two guys on the back end of the defense, and Jalen Thompson, and of course Budda Baker, and then limited time that he played. And I liked what I saw from Marco Wilson when he was out there healthy and playing at a high level. So. Keitrell Clark gets the start today. He seems to kind of have a leg up as far as that CB2 competition goes. We'll see what the latest is on next week on Dennis Gardeck and that knee. That's what JG, all he could tell us was it was a knee. Who else were we looking for as far as Chris Boyd had an injury too, I think on a team's play. So not as unscathed as they were last week at this time. So a trio of injuries we got to follow up on starting next week.
Everybody in the chat complimenting Paris Johnson Jr. I didn't notice him. That's a good thing. The right tackle out of Ohio State continues to be a promising player. Dylan Richards giving him his flowers now, giving him his love. And again, I thought that first team offensive line did a nice job. And I mean, I'm anxious to see them again for 4 quarters. I guess we're going to have to wait until week 1 against the Commanders. You will not have to wait for us to be back. We're going to do this every single post game for the Arizona Cardinals, including next weekend. Remember, it's I believe, a 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock kickoff time against the Minnesota Vikings. The Cards are in Minnesota all week to practice. Producer Emma is telling me off air it's 10 o'clock. So we will be live for a pregame and postgame that now includes 8-year NFL receiver Brittan Golden. We're so fired up to have you for Bo Brack live at State Farm Stadium for BG. I'm Johnny Venerable. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. We'll see you on Monday.